Today, we're going to be going over Godot's animation player in the context of 2D, which is great for setting up simple animations, reducing code, and controlling the environment. What we're first going to do is we're just going to have a simple animation play. With the Pixel Adventure Pack on itch.io, we're going to use these simple numbers to count the animation. So the first thing we want to do, go ahead and right click, add node. We'll add a node 2D. Go ahead and delete this one. Don't need it. And then we're going to add, I'm going to rename it to Counter. Then I'm going to add a child node called Sprite. And then I'm going to add another child. I'm going to rename this to Sprite Counter. And another child node called Animation Player. So this tutorial, I'm going to try to keep it simple as I can. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the animation player. If I double click this, you'll notice down here, there's a section called Animation. Let's go ahead and click that. And say New Animation, Manage Animations. Well, let's click Manage Animations. This section here, you can say Add Library. Now, we can create a library when you hit Add Library. I'm going to call this Sprite Counter. Click OK. And here, I can also click Load Library to preload animations, but I don't have any on hand right now, so I'm not going to worry about those. Maybe in another video, I'll show you how to import animations, but for now, this is just creating animations and using Animation Player. Click OK. I'm going to click Animation and click New. And so on the right here, you'll see you can select what library you want to add this animation to. You can click Global or Sprite Counter. For now, I'm going to select the Sprite Counter. And I'm just going to call this Count. Click OK. And so in the Pixel Adventure 1, I'm going to go to Free Menu Levels. And then I'll select the sprite. And if you notice here, while I have this animation tab open, you see these little keys. These are, if you click on the Add Track, you'll see Property Track. I'm going to go ahead and click one of these. It'll say you create a new property texture to insert key. Let's say go ahead and click Create. And you'll notice down here, when you click this little diamond out here, you'll notice the value is empty because that's what I set it here. But I can also change it. I can drag and drop a 1 over. I have it moved over here, so move it back. Zoom in on it. There we go. If I move forward, I can drag a 2 on there and hit keyframe. And now it will be a 2. If I click on that diamond again, the next diamond I mean, you'll see a 2 here. Go back here. Click that diamond before, it'll be a 1. So let me go ahead and just add a property track. And if I select the sprite counter, and see here, you'll select the field you want to use. I can select texture and hit open. Then hit insert key. You notice that I just pretty much made a copy, but I don't need this right now. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line. I personally like to use these keys on the side. You can see all the other keys here as well. I'm going to go ahead and add in a 3. And move this up again. And you notice it's making where this line is making the keyframe wherever this line is. And the current time of the animation. And this right here is indicating what time in the animation it is. And if you look over to your right, you will see a number over here that indicates how long this animation is going to be. You could have keyframes extend past this animation time, but it won't play it. So just keep that in mind as you make these animations. I'm going to go ahead and go up to 5. Keyframe, move up again. Keyframe, move up again. All right, so got 5 in there. And notice it goes to 0.4. I'm going to make this animation 0.5. So when you hit play, it counts up really fast. You could also go ahead and just make this to 1 again. And I'm going to double the time between each one. Here we go. 0.8. I'm going to make this 0.9. There we go. There we go. You see it count to up to 5. Good. If you look over to your right past the number, you'll see a little circular icon. If you click it, that will turn it into a loop. So if you hit play, it'll keep playing. If you hit it again, this will bounce back and forth. Go forward and backwards. For now, I'm going to just leave it to a non-looping setting. But you also notice, it says right here, auto play on load. If we zoom out, I'm going to move this closer to my player. Let's scale this up a bit so I can see it. Oops. There we go. I'll change it over here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and select this autoplay on load. And when I go ahead and play the scene, you can see it count forward. Let's go ahead and select the looping button. You can see it count forward, but you notice jumping back real quick. Let's just take a quick look at that. You notice the time between these two are short? Because I've made this portion just a tad bit too short. Now let's try it. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and hide that. And move on to the next. Alright, so next up, what I want to do, I'm going to create an enemy, or a bee, and add a script to where he routinely shoots a stinger, or a bullet. So let's go ahead and create a node, 2D. I'm going to call this bee. I'm going to add a sprite. And then I'm going to add a animation player. Create. I'm just going to call this bee sprite. Okay. So I'm going to select the animation player. I'm going to create manage animations. I'm going to add library bee. Select OK. OK. I'm going to create a new animation. Call it title. I'm going to keep this really simple. So I'm going to go to the Pixel Adventure 1. So I'm going to Pixel Avenger 2, and go to the B, and you notice in the idle, this is all one sprite animation sheet. Well, the way we can work around this, we can go ahead, and we can set the animation sheet to whole, and we go ahead and add the keyframe, or see, now it's in here. But we also need to make sure in the animation section, make sure the grid is set up properly. So we have 1 vertical, and then we have 6 tall. Let's go ahead and select both of these at the beginning of this animation. Go ahead and create, and create. We also want to go ahead and set the frame to 0 for the first section. And if you noticed, once we select that frame, it moves over a little bit. That gives us a chance to go ahead and update this to a 1. And click it again. And just do it as many frames as needed. So I'm going to do this 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Seven. Let's go ahead and make this 0.8 long. See how it looks. Looks like we need to make it 0.7. Good. Now let's go ahead and make this a animation looping by clicking this circular icon over here. There we go. Let's zoom in a little bit and see how it looks. Looks like I can shorten up a little more. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and add another animation called attack. And click OK. And make sure the B library is selected as well. And if we can drag and drop over here to sprite frame, make sure this is on frame 0. Click the icon, create. And if we look at how many sprites are in this one sheet, let's check it out. Looks like we have 8 sprites animations. So let's make sure we have this set to 8 on H frames. Create, and V frames is set to 1. And we'll go ahead and make sure this is set to 0. And select. And we'll go ahead and make sure we increment for each step. You can see here it auto incremented, so we'll just go ahead and click it again. There we go. Change this to 0.8. And uh-oh. This was supposed to be 8. Sorry, I had to correct that back to 8. So let me correct that back to 8. And there we go. Let's try that again. There we go. That looks like it does it. Great. I will go ahead and click the B sprite and click attach new script. I'm going to put this in my scripts folder. I'm going to say B sprite and create. One of the first things I want Do onReady var animator animation player, and I'm going to make it to this animation player. I also want a firing point. So let's zoom in on the B. Let's select the sprite, add child node, and let's put a marker to D in. And I'm going to put it right about there. If we check on the B section here, sounds about right. Yes, I'm going to put it right about there. Go back to the script. On ready var fire point marker 2D equals the marker 2D. And this will be the bullet we'll want to import, but we'll create that in one moment. But we're going to label this packed scene. Now we're going to create a function to fire said bullet. Funct fire bullet. And for now, I'm just going to have it do print fire bullet. I'm going to go ahead and remove these two functions because they're not needed. Save. And I'm going to go down here to the animations. To be a tag, I'm going to go ahead and select the auto play on load, just so I have it playing when it runs. I'm also going to select over here on add track, click. I'm going to select call method tracked. And I'm going to select the node with the script with the function I need to call. So I'm going to right click along this line. I'm going to select right here, insert key. And I see a function called fire bullet. I'm going to select open right there. What this will do is call the sprite scripts fire bullet. Let's see how that plays. This should only fire once because it's not currently looping. Yep. It came in a little after when it finishes animation, right before it finished animation. All right. So I also want to have it return to idle. Now, there is an easier way to do this, but for now, the whole purpose is just to show how the methods work from animation back. You could use an animation mixer, but that's not for this tutorial, so I'm just going to use this for now. And go return to idle, animator dot play b/idle. Selects the library, which is B, and then the animation, idle. Go ahead and say right click, insert key. Make sure you save it first. Right click, insert key, return to idle. There we go. Let's make sure that works. There we go. Returns to idle. So let's go ahead and create the bullet or the stinger. So let's go and add a new node, but we'll call it rigid body 2D. I'm going to call this stinger. Stinger. add a sprite 2D. We'll go ahead and put the bullet in for that texture. We'll also add a collision shape. Then we'll go ahead and make it a circular shape. Zoom in on it. I think that shape is fine for now. Let's go ahead and add a script to the stinger. And also, let's go ahead and add a timer. And the inspector on the timer, go ahead and select auto start. Going back to node signals, let's double click timeout. Select the stinger and hit connect. We're going to have it call queue free, but we'll have it call towards the end of the frame by using the method called call deferred. What queue free does is deletes the node. Let's go ahead and remove these since we don't need them. Save that. We'll make sure the lock rotation's on. And we'll make sure the layer, we set it on the 2. Because if we set it on 1, the static body that we set up, or rigid body you set up, however you decide to set up on the platform, it will be on layer 1. Let's go ahead and test this. Good. And if it does, as it follows through, it disappeared right here. That means it was called on the timer. So when this timer starts, it runs for 1 second. Then when it's over with, it calls this function, timeout, and called the queue free to be called at the end of the frame. I'll go ahead and remove that pass since I don't need it anymore. So now, what we need to do is create this into a packed scene. So I'm going to right click Stinger and save branch as scene. Go to scenes and I'm going to go Stinger, save. Now it's its own scene. If I click that little icon there, it'll open up in its own editor. The sprite, the timer, perfectly fine. Now if I select on the B sprite, and I can see the bullet, I'll go down here to the scenes. I see it down here, so I'm going to right click and select load and select stinger.tcn. I'm going to go ahead and hide this one. Now, let's go ahead and add the ability to spawn the stinger. Go var stinger equals bullet dot instantiate as node 2D. I want this in a tree to be processed, so I'm just going to place this in the fire point. Add child stinger. And I want the stinger's position, global position, to be equal to the fire point. To be equal to the fire point global position. Let's see how this looks. Boop, there we go. Good. Now we can also add another way to do animations. We can add effects. Let's do that next. One way to add effects is to add another animation player. So I'm going to go right click, add child node, animation player, create. Go ahead and drag this underneath. Go ahead and rename this to VFX player. And if we look at the current V, with the VFX player selected, we'll go Manage Animations, Add Layer, we'll name it B, V, VF, X. Click OK. Click Animations again, New, VFX tag. Okay. So we'll just make this 0.25. We're going to select the sprite. We're going to go to visibility. The first thing we'll do is we're going to select modulate and add the keyframe to that one. And create. To white. And we're going to go ahead and bring this down to halfway. We'll make it red. Just for some effect. Select that color again. Select the key again. Move over to 2. And we'll bring this back up. Make it white again. Bring it back to center. You could also just put in the hex here. Close enough for me though. And select the key. Now you see a quick little red flash. Go back to the script. I want to say on ready var VFX player, make it an animation player, and drag in the VFX player. I'm going to go ahead and say VFX player dot play VFX stack. I'm going to go ahead back to the animation player. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the return to idle. We'll go down here, select the diamond that has the return to idle call, right click and delete keys. I'm going to go back up here since I don't need it in my script anymore. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. Hit save. Then I'm going to select the animation looping icon. So that way it loops through when I run it. I can keep watching it drop down. Oop. There we go. We have a bee that constantly keeps shooting its stinger. Another way the animation player can be helpful is to help reduce the amount of code you actually need. Say, for instance, I have several instances on the screen that I need to show when the player arrives. I'm going to add child node, animation player, create. When I click here, I'll go ahead and manage animation and add level animation. Click OK. And click the animation button and click New. We'll make sure it's underneath level animation. And we'll click Show Props. So we'll go ahead and add a couple of sprites. Create. I'll just call this prop. And move this icon over here. And I'll go ahead and load in a texture. I'll just make a box texture. Zoom in, bring it down, and let's just make a couple of them. So select the animation player again. I'm going to rename that to level animation. Okay, so we're going to make sure at 1, we're going to select a key, make sure it's on, visible. We'll create the track for it. Go back to 0, turn it off, and hit the key again. You'll notice it's turned off here, but it's turned on at the end of it. Let's do that for each one. Okay, let's test it out. All right, just give it a second. And there we go, they turn on. Take note though, you have explicit names over here on the left-hand side, which is relative to the path of the animation. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. If you have any ideas for improvements, or let me know what tutorials you want to do on next, let me know in the comments below. Thank you.